Hi everybody. For my artist presentation, I chose Mary Mattingly. She is a fantastic artist that I'd love to share with you. So I'll start with her biography. Mary was born September 8th, 1978 in Rockville, Connecticut, but most of her artistic career has been spent in Brooklyn, New York, where she currently lives. Her artistic influences are a few main things, but it's mainly environment and nature, a lot of sustainability, and the effects of climate change, especially. One of her main influences is water. There's also aspects of trying to explore technology and how humans interact with technology, and as well for human interaction, one of her biggest draws and influences is how we as people interact with each other and our environment. Um, and then for the last thing is, which kind of ties into climate change as well, is humans' current reality and kind of where we're going. So again, a lot of her projects focus on water and how we kind of go throughout life interacting with each other and the effects of climate change on our lives today. So, her three main projects I'll be talking about are wearable homes, water pod, and swale. But I'll start with wearable homes. So, just to give you some historical context, Mary says, I grew up in a rural agricultural town without clean drinking water 2 hours outside of New York City. This made me aware of water waste and the relationship between infrastructure and basic needs on a personal level. I was It was from this perspective that I started building wearable homes in the year 2001 and living in them to test do-it-yourself systems that could provide a system of survival. Almost 20 years later, this project has found increasing revenants. Another thing, this project started in 2001, but it's actively ongoing. But a lot of this is just her building suits, inhabiting them, and kind of seeing how that interacts with her, and how it's like a futurism aspect of how she could interact with herself and her environment and kind of live through these suits. She says another thing is that wearable homes are a project based on dystopic future conditions. It's also inspired by alienation, and the pandemic has started another series in this sort of project, which is why it's continuing on today. For her water pod, which is her most influential work, she's won a lot of awards for this. She kind of talks about her inspiration, again, being water, but also that she says that it's really just a response to the environment, and WaterPod demonstrates future pathways for nomadic, mobile shelters, and water based communities, docked and roaming. It embodies self sufficiency and resourcefulness, learning and curiosity, human expression, and creative exploration. It tends to prepare, inform, and provide an alteration to current and future living spaces. She really wanted to, explore this futuristic aspect of how humans consume water, how it's portable. And again, this is her most awarded art piece that she's done. And as for Swale, it's started in 2016, but it's ongoing, and it's a project where, again, it talks about water, but it's also feeding the people of New York City. So her kind of inspiration for it was, she said, I grew up in an agricultural town outside of New York City, as she kind of talked about with wearable homes and water pod. And it informed her understanding of how humans interact with water, how we interact with each other, and it doubles as a art piece and almost a public garden. New York citizens are allowed to go and pick food and eat water and interact with each other in this public space. So, for a wearable home technique, There's a few things that I would say, which I really like how um, her past has influenced this project, and how it even restarted with her going through it again with the pandemic. So this is a 20-year project, but I really like how her past experiences and process has come back in this way, how she, took this alienation aspect and was thinking critically through this lens of how can we as humans interact with technology in the future, and where does that leave us? And I think it's a very creative way to look at climate change through this very unique lens. And the main thing that I would say for a critique is that I think that a lot of the suits are super futuristic and they seem more on the artistic side. And so for me, it's a little bit harder to picture kind of this how she talks about this technology kind of fueling you and her fueling herself, and water and food and air. And it doesn't quite come off to me like that at a first glance. So that would be kind of my main critique. As for a water pod critique, this is probably my favorite project of hers. I really enjoy learning about this and its impact on how, we think about water, and how that relationship really affects a lot of us. Um, Honestly, the concept of this piece really just resonates with me. Um, like, the main critique I would say is that because it is such a small project and it's kind of like adrift, I don't necessarily see this as something that would catch on a larger scale, which is something I think Mary would want to intend to have on her work. She really is just focused on clean water and sustainability and how climate change is affecting us. And I think that from this perspective, it's just not to be put on a wide scale. But I think there's a lot of things about this one that are super ambitious. I can really feel her anxiety and her background through this work with her relationship with the water. And I really like how it almost reinvents how to live on the water. It kind of makes me sad to think about this nomadic future where humans are kind of floating adrift, trying to get clean water and clean air. Um, and it's just, it to me, it really shows this futuristic thinking of how climate change could possibly impact us as a nation, but also as a people. And I think that's something that I wish was explored in more work. So I really like seeing it through Waterpod. As for my swale critique, um, I honestly really have a lot of things that I enjoy about this project. The main thing is that I love how it interacts with, it really walks this line between artistic intent and very real world impact on her community, and that's something I really admire. Not only is the simple concept of free, accessible, grown food awesome, but she really uses this artistic project as a way to circumvent a lot of laws around free public food. She has so much attention to detail when it comes to her materials. She reuses a lot of self-sustaining objects in this piece that impact her environment. And again, I think a lot of her projects kind of focus on this, how climate change affects us, but also community building and how that's going to affect humanity directly. And I think that this one, out of all of her projects, has the most real world impact. And I really admire that a lot about her work, especially since there's so many really odd laws in America about how we handle free food. So I really like that she took this project, and not only is it a way for her to express her artistic thoughts and critiques, but also it has a very real impact on her community. And to kind of wrap it up, Mary's influence on me has been pretty profound throughout this project. Her work has really made me evaluate how art impacts people in real life because I love how there is this duality and multifunction between her works and how they actually affect real people now in a way that's beneficial and community building. Um, Also, her work has helped me to re examine my relationship between intersections of art, technology, futurism, human interaction, and climate change. She does such an amazing job of blending all of these concepts, and it really just made me think about how I can apply that to my work and how I view the world around me. Um, I just think that she's really amazing, and I hope you guys enjoyed coming along on this PowerPoint journey with me and learning more about her. Thank you. Bye.